are live. Welcome back, boys. Welcome back, everybody, to the Mecca of Banter podcast. I believe this is the 39th episode, 40th episode. Correct me if I'm
Something
wrong,
like
but
that.
but
Sheesh.
man, we have put out some content this year. It's crazy that we're already at, the 39th episode, but I feel like we have another really exciting one. A lot's happened in the Prem in terms of transfers in the last week since we've last talked. Two city games, some Gold Cup games as well. The GOAT, a proper announcement to Miami yesterday, and all of which we'll dive into. But it's your boy Winks. You can find me on Twitter at LCW21. We can go around the horn. What's up, Hoove?
Lads, happy to be back. Another good week. Hoove here at Young Yid. Yeah, not a lot going on. The win that I got to see that I thought Messi might have been at was really fun. And then the double feature on the previous Wednesday was not fun. Not quite like I hyped it up last week. So, yeah, we're gonna dive into it. Looking forward to it.
Beautiful. What's up, Nikki?
How we doing, boys? Hafey4 on Twitter as usual. As a City fan, it's not too bad. I will say Henry pointed it out in our group chat earlier this week during the game, but this is one of the hardest photos I think I've seen in a very long
It's so
time.
good.
Insane.
And shout out
So
our boy
good.
Josh because man's been balling.
I think it just makes it that much better that photo was of
Yeah,
Josh. It would have been
it's
sick
it.
if it was of any other player, but the fact that it's our boy just makes it
Yeah.
unreal.
But as always, that's going great. But I also started this meeting off by telling the boys I'd much rather wear a polo than any Chelsea uniform. So that's how the Premier League's looking for me. But we're still here and happy to banter about it.
And that we will. What's up, Hank?
What's up, y'all? It's Henry Wind at Henry Wind on Twitter. It's a great week to be a Manchester United fan. So much cool shit's happening in the Prem right now, in the transfer world right now. And like preseason games are back, which is so good. It's so good to see. We played Leeds last week. I'm actually not. Arsenal played last week. I don't know if Tottenham has played yet or Chelsea's played yet, but that's right around the corner. It's so fun that we are so close to having these guys back. But Nick, I don't know. I was a little bit surprised that you didn't start off the pod with celebrating that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is in talks with Marseille in France as of like 2 hours ago. It's like personal fees agreed with Aubameyang to Marseille.
The fact that you just said that statement in and of itself makes me so depressed. So that's hard to say about that. The fact that you're making a statement about me being happy of Aubameyang, like, yes,
Dude.
he's gone, and if that's the only thing that we have to talk about in this transfer window, then I'm going to be very upset.
Clearing the fat.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see. But yeah, happy Aubameyang's leaving. That should have never happened in the first place. So
Brutal. Well, I think we're gonna end today with kind of a transfer update across all of our teams, but figured we could start off with the STL boys. The double feature on Wednesday, we played Los Angeles and lost 3-0. I personally didn't watch too much of the game other than some of the highlights afterwards and kind of seeing tweets throughout. But did any of you watch it? Watch it pretty tough. Obviously, it was brutal.
It was brutal. I
Sucked.
don't know. And you got it, but
Yeah, I mean, we actually talked about it last week in the sense that we just came off of a Toronto game that there's like one or two guys in that Toronto squad that can like hurt you maybe, and LAFC is not that way. They have three or four guys that can definitely hurt you, definitely, not even a maybe, and we saw that. I mean, we did a pretty good job in the first half, containing. Like they weren't super dangerous, and honestly, we
had some chances.
and had some really decent possession. I mean, in the first 20 or 30 minutes, we were bossing the game quite literally. We were playing super well. Second half, wheels fell all the way off. They scored one, and then they just kept scoring. The one that they scored was a devastating counterattack. just absolutely took like I think 4 passes to get it the length of the field in maybe 10 seconds. And then just slotted away by Carlos Vela, doing a really nice finish with the outside of his left foot, which was outrageous. Just a great goal. And then we made some weird subs again, and we were probably resting guys for Saturday for whatever reason. And we brought in some. Yeah, I mean, first off, we didn't even talk about this. The lineup on Wednesday was
That's where I was
bonkers.
literally.
It
That's literally
was
where I was
it
Why
going to
was
didn't I lead
start.
with that? What the
yeah.
hell?
The plot was lost for me when I saw the lineup. We all were really confident going in. LAFC had not been in good form. You know,
They're
I
still second in the Western Conference though.
Of
So like I
course.
was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
shocked. I
Of
was
course.
shocked with that lineup.
I
But they
understand
had won
rotation.
one game in their last 5 before coming to us though.
Yeah.
So like Hoove said, going into it, you got to think that on Saturday we're playing one of the worst teams in the MLS without Messi still. And so why would we not play our dogs midweek instead of a completely different back line than we've played the entire season? You know, 3 or 4 absolute shitters against a team that was due for positive regression at some point and clearly showed that, especially in their counterattacks. But
I Dude, I understand rotation. I
Mhm.
100% understand rotation. And Berkey's mentioned it this year that this is, some of the heaviest that his body's felt, a lot of games, etc. I understand rotation. I don't understand shipping it in
Yeah.
to any one individual game. He played an entirely new back line. John Bell had never even started before. I didn't. I To be totally fair, that you're right. First 45 minutes, nothing was really an issue. We couldn't get anything going offensively, but there were changes up top too. But then it fell apart. It was just like a lack of cohesion for sure. The line was broken so many times, whereas we've seen these other guys now, and Yarrow and Parker, and stays pretty tight. Um, Rotating a couple guys, I get. The back line tossed me off. I tweeted on the account, was like, "Can I take my money line bet back because I no longer believe in this?" Like
Yeah.
it was not. I did not feel good about it going in, and I think that's exactly what happened. But the subs they just don't get less weird. It doesn't even matter the situation. Carnell did say too at one point, he's like, "If we're losing, we're gonna go for it. It doesn't matter." He's like, "I'd rather lose by 3-0 and try to score than, just roll over for a 1-0 loss," which, sure.
Down
But
for that, I guess.
yeah, down for that too, except it exploded in his face on this occasion.
Yeah,
He's not tight.
I'm not gonna give the man any slack. I think the lineup was very interesting, and I was very confused by what he put out. But I will also say I think this was just a classic showcase of a. This is the first year for this team, and we don't have as much depth as a team as LAFC, who's been at the top of the table in the Western Conference for a decent amount of time. I just think the quality showed after a 0-0 game in the 60th minute. It kind of started tilting towards the quality of players that LA had on the field compared to what we had on the field. But yeah, the lineup was it blew my mind, especially after how well our boys been playing. I know we're trying to get some breaks here and there, but like Lucas said, I just can't believe we would not play the Dogs against the second team in the division and play them against Miami.
Starting Josh Bell was wild
Yeah.
because Josh Yarrow has played not that many games this year. He doesn't
No.
have those minutes in his legs to where he probably needs to take these breaks.
and even with the City 2 games he's been right, because Henry, you've
Yeah.
been paying attention to the City 2 team a
Yeah.
lot. He's been playing majority of those games, but I can't
Okay,
imagine
that's true too.
it's still, even still though, I can't imagine it's City.
LAFC, go ahead. No, LAFC is a wild place for you to get your first start of the year.
Yeah,
I
play
would
your
be
dogs.
petrified. I'd be petrified.
I guess, I mean, we'll never know. Like, we'll never know what's going on behind closed doors and, like, why they rotated all of those guys. And yes, 3 games in 8 days or whatever it is, that's a lot. It just feels weird, the 4 of us sitting here being like, that feels like a bad decision, no? And, like, that still being the decision that was made. Like, all 4 of us would be like, rest the Dogs against Miami. We'll play the Dogs against LAFC.
We're
All of
going
us are in
into a
agreement with
break.
that. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, going into a break. So, I don't know, man. It was weird, and thank Buck we turned it around like
Yeah.
against Miami. But yeah, this one was really disappointing. I will say, I mean, I know that The last goal went in the 92nd minute, so it was in stoppage time. The whistle blew probably right after. I think it's the first game that I've like turned off early. Like,
Yep.
yeah, I mean that last goal went in, and I was just like, I couldn't even be bothered like listening to an analysis of that game or any of the commentators talking or anything. I was just like, we got our ass kicked in the second half badly. It was not tight. It was not cool.
Not at all.
I couldn't handle how much I heard Carlos Vela's name and
Oh.
just the
Carlos
incessant,
Vela!
the incessant.
We won't
just
repeat it, but who
obsession.
said that in the group text?
Dude,
Was that you
yeah.
or Doves? Gosh,
They were performing services on my man Carlos Vela via the broadcast, but you know,
that was unreal. I think I laughed for a
Unbelievable.
few minutes straight there rereading that. But thankfully we bounced back. Like we said, we hosted Miami on Saturday without Messi, and obviously played our dogs and gave them a proper spanking in front of the home fans. So that was good to see. Um, the reverse side of the score midweek, we won 3-0. Um, we are, I believe, leading the MLS right now in set piece goals by like a handful, which is crazy. Um, Edward Lowen had an absolute freak
Peach.
of a free
Yeah.
kick
Sick.
that Hoove got on film
So sick.
from his season ticket seats, and
Uh-huh.
I think we shared it to our story on Instagram, but maybe that's
Tweet it
something
out,
that
yeah.
tweet it out, post it on IG when we post with this pod recording, tomorrow morning. But
But
um,
before we get into an analysis of this game, I do want to give a quick shout out to the marketing team of St. Louis City with that red
Oh
carpet
yeah.
tweet.
What the
I
hell?
thought it was brilliant because it had all of us wondering. So shout out to the marketing team there with that red carpet tweet. I totally thought Messi was in St. Louis for like 30
Same.
seconds.
Dude, me too. I was saying it to people
Hey,
walking in the stadium.
Great marketing ploy though.
Yeah.
and Hen and I were at the lake too, and like seeing that, I was like, am I about to just leave right now
I
and
literally was like, "Oh,
buy a ticket off the street?
I'm about to drive downtown right now." Like,
Yeah.
that was
I'm
where my
about to
head was.
give up my paycheck to go watch this guy sit on the
Yeah.
bench for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
was-
For him
it
not
was
even to touch the
Just to
field.
walk
It
in the
was
stadium,
Sterling
give
K.
us a
Brown.
wave and walk out.
Yeah.
I was in the same stadium as
That's it.
Lionel Messi.
I was gonna shed a real tear if that man walked out into the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, just
I-
thought I'd point that out before we talked about the game.
Your thing about the set pieces, I love that we are that high because my concern around the amount of goals we have from open play is the other side of that token. Like I think we won this game in the same way that we usually win games, which is the high press. Looked really good. It worked well.
Big
You
Sam,
win a
man.
lot of Big Sam. You win a lot of corners that way. That's all fine and dandy until you can tuck some corner chances and dead balls.
You
The
know what though?
services were excellent.
You say that, so I was looking this up beforehand because I was curious and was kind of rereading some stats from both of the games this week, and we've scored something like 43 or 45 goals this season, and that's second most behind
Yeah.
the Columbus Crew this
Uh-huh.
season. So like 18 from set pieces is a lot, and that's a high percentage, I feel like, compared to most, football clubs around the world. But whatever 43, 45 minus 18 is, like that's still a good amount of goals.
You're
So
right.
it's and we were without Lowen for a little bit. We're still without Klaus, and so I'm just happy that guys are Giacchini, Big Ben, Lowen, all these other guys are kind of picking up slack. Azeel Jackson recently, who has just had all the sauce.
Electric. Yeah.
I'm just thankful that we're not playing like sitting ducks, and we're not relying on who we thought was going to be our sole goal scorer to score us goals, and be flat. I'm proud of the way that we're still, trying to find ways to put him in the net. Um, but I don't think we expected anything different from this game, especially seeing the lineup, 30 minutes before. I don't think that, we were expecting this to be close in any way, and it wasn't. But
Nikki, what were you about to say?
I'm looking up the stat before I misspeak because I looked it up beforehand. But another shout out for us, which is huge. And I'm pretty sure the stat is every time Josh has started and played 90, except for one game. So I think it's 5 games he's done that. We've had a shutout in every single one except the 2-1 loss. So the back line, Josh and Parker are together is just getting.
That's our guy.
I know.
That's our
It could
guy.
be biased, but stats don't lie as well, and the man's getting shot.
He passes the eye test and the stat test.
That's all I'm
He
saying.
does.
I don't think it is bias either. I was talking to a bunch of people in my section, and we've got some ball. We got some guys that know ball in section 201. Shout out my boys. And one of the guys was like, I think when Nilsson comes back, it's Yaro Nilsson. And I was like, no, I refuse to believe that they take Tim Parker out because of a lot of intangibles. And if Nilsson's the ball playing guy that we think he could be, then, great. But it definitely made me think, like, he has seriously put himself in the category of can't take off the field because he has been that good for 90 minutes at a time every time that he's played. I think that's a super interesting conversation. Partially too because we don't know anything about Nilsson. Like the guy hasn't played a game in 18 months.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, and I think with Josh, like, I mean, we talk about his ball playing all the time, but like his style is so much more under the radar than Tim Parker's is, but his positioning is outrageous. His like decision-making process is fantastic. Like he's always so calm. He's willing to play the ball into tight spaces. He knows how to release pressure by like taking the ball back or whatever it may be. Like I'm getting to the point of watching these games where I'm like, God damn it, make a mistake that I can like talk about, like, oh, he's great, but I wish he would have done this differently. And I'm like, he just plays like such a solid game. Literally, there was literally one pass last game that he played backwards to Berkey instead of breaking a line. And I was like, maybe he could have broke a line there, but I'm like, okay, what?
bad.
We just
That's
we
your
just started
complaint.
possession over again. I'm like, this is so stupid. He's been great, man. Like he's really just taking his chances. What the fuck
Say
is
it. Say
is Carnell's deal with Stroud, bro?
56% completed passes.
What
56
is going
again.
on? It's
Dude.
so bad. I don't get it.
Is he like? Does Carnell have a daughter that he's dating,
I'm
or
saying, bro, there's some
Little
blackmail.
Fernan Torres, Luis
Yeah.
Enrique action. World
He
Cup.
does where I woke up Sunday morning thinking about Jared Stroud, which is that's pretty small of me in the scheme of things. But I wonder if like he woke up and was like, "Hey, I had a great game yesterday." You know what I mean? And not to bag the guy, I listened to his city voice. No quarrels with the human himself. Good guy. But 56% completed passing. It's not like his defensive stats are all that impressive. And he's a midfielder. He's supposed to be contributing in the final third. And that was the main part of his city voice was that he wants to get more assists and more goals on his stat sheet as a player to grow and develop as a player. And he had every opportunity for he had a wide open chance at net. He had a wide open lane to Zeal Jackson with nobody in front of him to find on a counterattack. There were so many different scenarios that I just weren't good enough for me, for everybody else to have the impressive performance that they did. And Dopes literally just joined us at the perfect time because I know his thoughts and feelings.
I didn't even have
about
to
this.
ask. I didn't even have to
That's
ask.
exactly who we're talking about.
Who you guys were talking about. Sorry I'm late, Phil. I was just going to say, everybody. I don't really need to add anything else besides Jared Stroud. I'm glad I joined at that moment because I probably would have said the exact same thing that Hoove would. Yeah, my man needs to step it up.
90 minutes. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
he makes
that's
all
the
these
thing.
wild subs.
I'm all down for like if a guy's in a funk, I'm down for like playing some minutes to try to work him out of it. But this is like it's a consistent performance. It's a consistent decision making thing that like every time he does something, I would almost rather do the opposite. And obviously, he's a professional. I am not. I do not know better than Jared Stroud. I know that. But watching him play, I'm like, why are you the way that you are? Like everything that you do. I hate. It's just so bad.
We should get him on the pod.
Like,
Yeah,
dude,
I mean,
I would
fucking
I
hey,
would be
Jared, if you're
happy
listening,
to.
come
He
on.
would hate
Jared,
us.
man, we'd love to. And it's here the I think from a purely non-professional, like just being a teammate aspect, the part where he passes the ball and it's not a great pass, and then he looks and complains at his teammate to say, hey, you were supposed to be here. When I've watched it happen live within the last 2 to 3 weeks, 4 or 5 different times, and I know for a fact that that teammate wasn't getting that ball, that that doesn't sit well with me as a human. Like, I understand being on a team, I understand playing with guys. I was the first, Henry, you can attest to this. I was the first to be like, my bad. Yep, that misplaced it, or I was just so not like that. So
Yeah.
to watch him to watch him do that to his teammates and the guys who we he loves, I'm sure, and they love him, and then do it consistently and not contribute in that final third where he said that he wants to. That's just frustrating. And from an outside point of view, he's the only guy on that field that went 90. Everyone else got subbed off. I didn't get. I just
Which to
just don't
me,
get it.
it goes into Carnell. Like
Yeah.
Stroud's doing what Stroud's doing. He
Guy's the
been doing it,
workhorse.
boys. He been doing it. But
High rate of effort.
at some point, you have to look at Carnell and say, why are you playing him 90? Like, there are other guys that can play that position. And who knows, fellas? Like, once Klaus is
Sure.
back, if Klaus ever comes back, maybe Giacchini moves out to that left-hand spot and Stroud doesn't start anymore.
I
Maybe
thought
that's the case.
When Staleo came on, I thought he was
Much better.
great.
Much
Man,
better.
I've always rated him.
He's fun. He'll take
Did
guys
you
on.
did you all hear the stat? I think they said it during the Miami game that like he has the highest success rate of take-ons in the MLS.
That's
Seattle does.
outrageous.
Like he's
That's
like
fun.
statistically the best dribbler in the MLS. Which I was like,
Does-
that's cool.
Do you think Bradley knows? We should tell Bradley.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Maybe-
say, nah,
maybe we
keep
should
playing,
retweet
keep
that
playing
stat.
Stroud.
Yeah. Wait, but fellas, I have a question for you all. Now that we're past Miami, Messi's official.
Hmm.
What happens? How do
He
we
is,
feel?
bro. I'm so excited.
Changes.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting.
Believe.
I think it'll be interesting to see who else Miami signs because, like, yes, Messi can completely change the dynamic of a team, but they're still so bad that they still need help. And if these rumors, with Iniesta, Hazard, Sergio Ramos, Jordi Alba, like obviously these are all bonkers, and the majority of these may not happen. But I think that if it might even be too late for them at this point in the season to kind of completely turn things around and make the playoffs. I don't know. I'd have to look at the schedule and kind of the points rankings, but I think it'd be really cool. I think it's great for the MLS. He's going to attract a lot of great European players our way and hopefully elevate the league as a whole. Even Miami specifically, just like being around these players who aren't playing great football right now, seeing Messi in training, learning little things from him here and there on technique, vision, etc. I think it's only good things for this league.
I've said it a couple times that to me, I'm more like sad than I think anything. Like, yes, to me, it's unbelievable. Not only from a marketing standpoint, it's going to be very cool that Messi's going to travel around the United States. All these people here are going to get to see him play. I think like just watching that Miami team on Saturday night and then realizing that like Messi has to be sitting at home like watching them
Training
like,
with them
I mean,
daily.
and
He
they're
wasn't watching. He was running around Publix grocery shopping for his family.
yeah. Avoid watching. Like, I think it's more sad. Obviously, I'm super hyped that he's joining the MLS, and it's the ability to just watch him play in our country and travel around our country. Not only from a marketing standpoint, he's going to do so much for the game here, but the other side of that is just like when you do watch Miami, you have to realize that we're sort of past Messi's glory days, so to speak. And I think it really hasn't hit yet. It's been all this hype sort of around him joining, and it's cool he'll be in the United States, but like in my opinion, it's sort of at the end of Messi as we know it. Like he's going from playing in the top clubs and the biggest competitions in the world to a league that doesn't have relegation yet. So it's super exciting, and of course, it's a massive move. But to me, it's a little bit sad as well.
For me, I think I have 1 year of excitement before I
I
turn to
think so.
sadness.
I think
Like
so too. I mean,
I think the excitement for me is going to last for about a year. Like until we, I don't know. I think the rest of the season watching him play, and especially if they come to St. Louis next year, which I don't know if they will. They'll probably play in Miami, but if they do, like that'll hype me up.
Nah, I'm team. It was MLS or Saudi, and we won, and I'm taking that. We get to watch this man. Everyone gets to watch this man. It's global. You can buy Apple TV wherever you are in the world. We we beat out the Middle Easterners and the money and the oil money, and we brought the goat in.
Who's turning this
And
into like a nationalistic?
no, and truthfully,
we're
Not wrong,
America.
though.
We
we're
win.
there's I don't want to say that Saudi Arabia is
Taking
ruining
over
it,
all sports.
but it's just we're watching it like and Dobes has said this. There's not going to be a world where we don't have Qatari or Saudi Arabian influence in sport ever again. They're going to continue to do this. They're going to continue to grow. They're going to continue to spend money. So I think it's fantastic. I think yes, he's not going to play against these European clubs at these best leagues in the world, but he can pull some kind of comeback out of Inter Miami, and he can get top four in MLS and play in the CONCACAF, Champions League and stuff. Like, I don't think it's the end as we know it. I think this is the downward slope that we had expected. I'm just happy that it's close to me.
Yeah.
And that I will,
Yeah.
actually have an interest and care in the fact that he's playing still. Because he went to Saudi Arabia, it's over. I won't watch another lick. Like,
I completely agree with both of your guys' takes. When I envisioned Messi's downfall, it was like the man's gonna play CDM still at the top club in the world and just chill out in the middle.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like that's how good he is. Like I imagined him being 40-something years old, still playing for a Champions League side, but just running the midfield. Like I agree with Dobes, and I also agree with you, Hoover. Though, like the options that he was going, I'm very happy he went with us because I do think, like, not even just marketing, like economy, like our economy is going to get boosted because of Lionel Messi. Like
it's like Taylor Swift touring. Yeah, it's
Like,
literally the two biggest things in the country.
You have to give, and I read that like long article. Like you have to give the MLS and like Don Garber and Georgie Moss, the owner, or like just the fact of like what's so interesting
Persistence.
is the deal that Messi has with Apple, like was completely 100% separate from any conversation that they had with Inter Miami. So like in order for the MLS to even compete with Saudi, like it was a total like almost like United States
all in.
effort.
Yeah.
All in. It was like because it was technically like I forget what they called it, like some sort of like sports washing or something if Apple would have been involved in the direct conversations with Inter Miami, but like that all of those people sort of know each other and made that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like and the deal's been in the works for a couple of years. So you do have to give credit to the MLS because they literally landed the World Cup MVP, if you want to call it, from 6 months ago,
Crazy.
which is outrageous. Yeah.
There's also, dude, we're talking so much bigger for the league than anything that we've comprehended. Like the national media has talked about an MLS pre-Beckham and an MLS post-Beckham, and I think the exact same thing. Like we've already had conversations from what I've read with the South American. What are they? The Conmebol or their whatever. I don't know. But apparently they're already in conversations to bring MLS teams into the Copa Libertadores. So like,
Which would be lit.
That is
if St. Louis plays against like River Plate, we're going.
That's insane. That's insane.
It.
So I think Messi coming in only ushers and convinces other people to come in and work with MLS more and more often and more frequently. So that those types of things are just going to start to happen. It's the trickle down is going to be ridiculous from this.
The biggest thing that takes the MLS forward, and there's been rumors it's going to be added to the USL, is just adding that promotion relegation.
Yeah.
Like that plus Messi in the league in every single game then matters. It's like if that happens, that's when I think the league is really moving forward.
We need it to work in USL.
the
bad.
USA doesn't know the greatness that is promotion and relegation. Like, I mean, I was literally this morning talking with like those Madrid coaches at that camp, and like they were talking about that, about how like in the USA, in like the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, like they're all basically monopolies, all of
Mhm.
them. Like
Yeah.
there is no other. I mean, like there's like the XFL or like the AFL or whatever that's kind of trying to make a push, but like there is no other thing. And for a promotion relegation system to be at play, the USA would fuck with that so hard. Like
Yeah.
there are winners, there are losers, and like that would be great. So if we can get it in with MLS, who knows? Maybe there's a world that there's like a promotion relegation MLB side, and like the Cardinals, if they're losing a bunch of games, it's like, well, they might get relegated down to
The
AAA.
yeah. Yeah, the only thing with certain, so like the NFL might be able to do something like that, that I think one reason the MLB wouldn't be is because they've got the AAA version of
Yeah.
their club. Um, so it's a little different than like these USL teams that aren't necessarily linked directly with an MLS team. We've got our City 2 team. The NFL has the XFL. I could kind of see something like that happening, but for baseball specifically,
Yeah, that makes
I,
sense.
I'm sure that. But even so, I think that I listened to something around lunchtime today, and I can't remember where I heard it, but somebody was being interviewed about the MLS, some player, and he was saying that like if you lose a game in the MLS, like it's
Gareth
not that
Bale.
big. It's not.
It was my boy
Yeah.
It
Gareth.
was
Yeah.
Bale. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal because you you're not going to get relegated. Like you just move on and go to the next game. But in Europe, they take losing a lot more seriously because they miss out. The club, the owners miss out on a shit ton of money, and the players lose out potentially on the chance to play at a top level in a top league. So I think that as far as like elevating the sport, especially in America, I say, 5 to 10 years, it becomes the biggest sport in America
Yeah.
if we stay on this trajectory. But
I hope.
I
Dude.
I think it's
I
what the
hope.
sport needs.
I hope that we finally get rid of one of the most frustrating things I think being an American soccer fan is like those people that turn on your ESPNs, you turn on your big networks. It's like we've all seen them do their list of top 10 athletes in the world in their opinion. And every single time it's Tiger Woods, it's LeBron
Yeah.
James, it's all of these American athletes. When the biggest athlete in the world always has been and always will be Messi. And so I think that people are underestimating like just the global reach that this guy has.
Yep.
And so I think Messi just being here is really going to open up not only just like Americans' eyes, but like all over just how big this
Yeah.
dude is everywhere. Because consistently we've been told that football players are the biggest athletes, basketball players, and us that follow soccer have always sit there and be like, we know Messi's
You got,
bigger,
yeah,
even
you know nothing.
even Ronaldo's bigger. So I hope it just opens the doors that much just to see how big these stars are.
Winks, you're back to the Bale thing. I thought the manner in which he responded to that was so funny. They were like, "Yeah, so
So
what's the biggest?"
casual.
It's like, "What's the biggest difference?" Oh, it was, dude. The MLS was way more my man's speed than Real Madrid.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
what's the biggest difference in the MLS? He's like, "Well, they don't feel too bad when they lose. Like, they and when you win, they celebrate like every win like they would just won the trophy." So. He's like, yeah, it was pretty relaxed when we'd take a loss. There was no implications after that, but like he was like digging it. It was not
Yeah,
like a
he's like,
dig
I'm here
at
for it.
MLS. He was like, yeah, it was pretty sweet. And we
I
lost.
was
We're going
getting
home.
whistled at Madrid, bro.
Yeah, exactly. For just
And
not speaking Spanish.
Yeah, literally that.
All right. Well, I think it's only proper that we move on to our other team. The boys in red, white, and blue also
I
lost
forgot.
on the same day that our city boys lost to LA. Team USA played our second string starting 11 against Panama in the quarterfinal, or sorry, semifinal of the Gold Cup, and we lost in penalties 5-4. Um, I'll start it off by saying Aaron Long started. So I think we kind of knew what was going to happen from the front there, but we were 0% the better team in that game. I think that, by the time we finally created a bit of magic, Jesus Ferreira towards the end of the game, Panama had already done the damage, and we just had nothing. We didn't have anybody big on the bench either. I'm still just so baffled that we as a team that has so much potential, so many of our top players are going to be in their prime in 2026, still choose to not consistently play the same starting 11 to build proper chemistry outside of training when we get to play, even though Panama's, not a top 50 ranked FIFA club, they're still considerably better than, when we played Trinidad and Tobago or whoever,
Uzbekistan.
whatever it was several weeks ago. Like
Saint Kitts.
when you have a chance to play a top 60 team nation in the world, like this is the time, whether we win or lose, this is the time for us to be playing those guys who aren't in season right now with their actual clubs. Like, why? I don't know. Do you guys have any sort of justification for why we might not have done that? It felt like Greg Berhalter was managing the team even though he wasn't this week.
The only thing I can think about is obviously like those top guys, they need a rest.
Yeah.
I mean, the Gold Cup is a long tournament. I think I underestimated how long this tournament actually is. It's like several weeks long. Think when we went to the game, it's like 3 weeks ago already, and it's like that time is just moving by. But so I think the first thing is that they need a rest. The second thing, there is no other country or group of countries that does anything like this with the frequency that we do it. So there's the Euros every 4 years, and I guess the Copa America is like every 2 years or whatever it is. But the Gold Cup is like every fucking year. And so I think at some point those top guys are like, I'll just get the next one or
It would have been
whatever it needs.
offset if the World Cup wouldn't have been in.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
that's what made the Nations League and Gold Cup back to back was the World Cup being
Oh,
in because
gotcha.
typically the
Got it.
World Cup would have been this summer.
Uh,
You know what I,
Mm.
or last
last
summer.
summer.
So
Yeah.
that's what sort of throws the whole schedule because typically historically the top guys have played the Gold Cup. They just haven't had the Nations League a week and a half before.
Yeah.
So weird. Just not here for it. I don't like it.
I don't
It's
even remember
pointless.
the game, dude. I blacked out for the entire 100 and whatever minutes.
Well, we lost in just about every statistical category. I think in CONCACAF, Team USA held the most possession collectively out of any team, and I think we had like 40% possession in that game against a team that we should wax.
Right. Yeah.
But again, it's tough to like justify any of this and just say that like Panama were just the better team, but it all goes back to the fucking lineup for me.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the pens, bro. So we missed two of them, and the two that we missed were supposed to be the two senior heads of the team. Jesus Ferreira missed his first, which is a terrible precedence to set. And then Christian rolled on, which if I could have put any amount of money on that ball going in or not, I would have chosen the or not of Christian Roldan. I don't have anything wrong with Christian Roldan. He's never done anything to upset me. He's just not a player, bro. He's just not someone that I have any confidence in.
Yeah.
So yeah, when your two senior guys like can't make it under the pressure, that's just not good. Turner had a save again, like that boosts that stat that he has against, whatever it is, 45% saves or whatever, but just terrible pens. Not good. Miazga hit a great pen, good on
Yeah, he
him, but
did.
like,
Jeez.
it's the little things.
I'm not even really mad about pens because I think pens can go either way. I'm more just upset about the fucking effort the entire time. Like that's like one of those things where those
It was
guys at Panama-
embarrassing.
That's what I mean. The guys at Panama actually looked like they cared, and you have a
Mm.
bunch of guys who like don't get to wear the crest often, who don't get to wear that badge often, who are fighting for the opportunity to potentially just wear it again, and most of them took it for granted. It looked like there's a few guys who you could tell like even going down 1-0, like wanted to come back and cared a little bit, but for the majority of those guys, it seemed like they truthfully didn't give a shit, and I think
Yeah.
that's the bigger issue. That the lineup is horrible. But the effort is no excuse.
I couldn't agree more, Dobes. I think that's literally a tryout for everyone that was on the field, and they all did not do well at all.
Boom. It's a tryout. Why are we having guys who aren't going to be on the next World Cup cycle playing in the game? play the kids.
I
at
agree
that
with
point.
you. I completely agree with you, but I still think it's embarrassing when we should still be winning
Oh, yeah.
with that side.
Oh,
Like
for sure.
we should
Play
we've
play
been
those
talking about
guys in friendlies and exhibitions like shit that doesn't have any
Yes,
implications,
and once again,
especially in
I
CONCACAF.
completely agree with you guys that the lineup and the picking of the players was not good at all. But I also still think the players that were picked should beat Panama, and the effort was not there at all whatsoever. And I think it's embarrassing. Like we were talking a couple of podcasts ago how we should be dominating the Gold Cup for years to come, and we literally lose in the semis to Panama on one of the first years we probably should win easily. So I was thoroughly embarrassed by it.
I said this, I think I said this last week, but our C team, our B and C team, should still beat everybody in this conference's lead A team except Mexico and Canada. Like, these guys are still mad professionals. And Panama, I didn't do a ton of research, but I watched a couple of them. That Eric Davis, left back, guy's 32. He can whip a ball. I watched him. He was good. But, like, most of these guys aren't in major clubs. Like, it doesn't matter who's on the field, Nick. I'm completely in agreement. You have to beat them
Yes.
regardless of what's going on. So I do think, Berhalter was coaching regardless of BJ being on the bench. But yeah, no, why are we giving looks to Christian Roldan still? Like, he's 27, 28. My man isn't in the short list of people that should be going to the World Cup. We just should have approached this completely differently.
Yeah.
I understand giving some guys chances. Like, I do want to see Miles Robinson. Like, he isn't in that top tier, but I do want to see him because he could be one of those guys that comes back up.
Yeah.
Or Jesus Ferreira, perfect. He was in the right place at the right time for this. But yeah, like Miazga, Long, Roldan, who else? What's that one guy from Seattle? I forget his name. I blacked out. Jordan Morris.
I blacked out.
I don't remember his name. I wiped it from my memory bank.
It's a fucking great call.
Unreal. Well, I think Mexico won in the Gold Cup final, so congrats to them. Hate those guys, but we can move on from that tournament. I feel like we should round this out with kind of the transfer rumors, any recent signings in our club. United boys, I see you guys have the same background, so I'll
Nick,
I'll
get
let
over
you
sitting our
guys
mics down.
lead it
Yeah.
off.
Here, let me set mine down real quick.
So here's the deal. We talked about Onana last week, and so I'm not gonna hype it up too much because we got the here we go. That's the biggest thing. We got the here we go from Fab. Maybe club announcement tomorrow. Maybe.
I
Joe
will
keeps getting-
say, as much as like you guys have been gassing Onana, I did not seen it going all the way through, and the fact that United put pen to paper with them and it's got the here we go and everything, I props to
Sure.
you guys. I'm shocked.
Sure.
I'm shocked that United
56.
did it.
Hey, 56 million for a keeper. Sure. Why not?
Sure.
Bro, I spent 65 on Kepa. Fuck.
We will gladly go ahead and just take the best goalie and keeper and add him. No, we now have the best goalie in the Prem. Like, statistically, any category.
Statistically speaking,
Best-
that is
best
fact.
save
My man
percentage.
hasn't set a foot. He isn't even.
Statistically, he hasn't played a fucking game in the
kid.
Premier League.
He's even have the kid yet.
Last year, he had the best save percentage in the entire Champions League. He had the best passing accuracy in the entire Champions League.
Hey,
That's,
everyone clip
that's
this.
including Alice. That's including Allison. That's including all these top guys. By no means am I going to sit here. He's already the best, but I think that he has the potential. I think even without even stepping a foot in the Prem, I think the only goalie that's better than him is Allison. All around, the only goalie that's better than him is Allison, and I think that's it. Name another.
That first misplayed pass directly leading to a goal is going to smack like some crack, bro.
It's
I'm
you
gonna
know
get
what?
that
And
off.
it's you know what?
56 million for this.
And here's the thing. I don't expect him to not make. Like, I don't expect him to sit there and get every single pass perfect.
Cover your ass.
You've
Yeah.
You've
Good call.
budgeted that comment a
Yeah,
lot. That's
for
why.
sure.
Yeah.
It's not
Edged it there.
budging at all. It's not budging at all. It's the fact of when you sign a new goalie, especially a new goalie who's going to have to play with 4 new defenders and build that relationship. Like, there's going to be times when, like, he's going to make a mistake or he's going to do some sketchy stuff. But then again, when you watch the Champions League final and he was the best player on the field for Inter Milan and it wasn't even close, he's got the ability to do that in big moments. And so I think the key is going to be let him settle in, give him that time to do it. But he's also going to give us, like,
Mendy
he's the
balled in the
mo-
Champions League final too, brother.
yeah, he's the modern day goalkeeper that Eric Ten Hag has needed to sign for years now, and the fact that we did it just shows how fucking ruthless he is. And it's going to give us the ability to play out of the back and actually begin playing Eric Ten Hag style. Not to mention, it was a couple of years ago, like he was an Arsenal target. He said no, and then it came out that the only club that he would have left for was Man United. So like he wants to be part of Ten Hag's project, and I think Hen and I both agree. Like mostly what we want is people that want to be here. Like we don't want people that want to come just because we're going to way overpay them, like we did Harry Maguire. Like we want people that actually want to be here and want to play.
There's a video, not saying that any of you will have any reason to look this up, but he posted on Instagram last week a video of him playing like center midfield with like his family back home, and like literally playing center attacking midfielder, going like linking up play and then going and scoring. And obviously he's not playing against professionals, but I'm like, can you imagine a video of De Gea doing that back in Spain, of like trying to play in the midfield and looking decent? Like that would just be unbelievable. But
I'd play Onana as a 9 over Weghorst. I'd play
come on, come on.
as a 10 over Weghorst, bro.
Are you guys gonna sign one of those before the window's up?
Can't imagine we will. Actually, the Højlund deal from Atalanta. What's tough about it is like they've been talking about it for a couple weeks now, but today it came out that Atalanta wanted 70 million for Højlund.
60 plus 10 in add-ons.
He's not that. Like he's just not that kind of player yet, and very possible that he might be. And not like comparing him to Holland, but like when Holland left Salzburg to go to Dortmund, it was like a 20 million fee maybe, and he was already more prolific than Højlund is now. It's just an asinine figure for a club to want. So I mean, maybe I hope that we sign a 9. We need a 9 desperately. If we go into the season without one, we're fucked. But interesting developments, and kind of like the main thing to talk about is Harry Maguire stripped of the captaincy this week as well. Ten Hag explaining like, hey, you're not the guy that I want in my plans to be leading my team. Maguire put out a cute little Instagram message saying that he is disappointed, but he's supporting the club and yada, yada, yada. And then right away, Chelsea's linked with Maguire, West Ham's linked with Maguire, Aston Villa's linked with Maguire, and boy, will I be excited. It will be like Jake's euphoria when Kai Havertz left the club of Chelsea. He's going to be, I'm going to be ecstatic. If that happens, I'm not sure it will, but I would love for Maguire to get out, and I thought that was probably the most positive news we've received in a long time.
I still hope that there's like a little sliver that he somehow makes it to Tottenham and gets stuck in the middle with Eric Dyer. That would just, I could give two shits what happens next season, but if that happened,
if Chelsea signs Harry Maguire, I'll throw up.
I genuinely think that like it doesn't make sense to me when these rumors come out that he wants to fight for his place. Like you're gonna lose your spot in an England team. Like why not go to a West Ham where you're playing in a European competition? You're gonna play every single game.
Like, West Ham's playing in Europe. Send him there. That's way better than Spurs, bro. Fuck that.
But even like if he does end up at Spurs, like he may not be a starter, but he's got more of a chance to start there than he does at United. Like
I've not had a nightmare like thinking of Eric Dyer and Harry Maguire in the middle. Like that keeps me up at night.
It would be top tier watching. Yo, straight up like the memes, bro.
Oh, bro, I can.
You guys would gain such a large amount of social media following just from memes of those two in the middle.
So I think for such
Spurs,
reasons, it's a good move.
Yeah,
good move.
Yeah,
great
you
business.
can get them cheap.
You know how
United will pay you.
We're already gonna lose like fucking 50 million on signing him in the first place.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be horrendous.
Good business.
But quite literally, there's a lot coming out about Maguire leaving. Obviously, Galatasaray put in a bid for Fred that got rejected. There's guys that are getting interest, which is good to see. We're still figuring out what's gonna happen with some loan moves. But I feel like we're moving in a good direction from a transfer perspective. But no matter, even though we bring in Onana, we bring in Mount, let's say we bring in one more squad rotation player, the transfer window isn't going to be complete unless we get a 9. I mean, without it, it's just not going to be possible. We can't go into the season without a 9, period. Martial's hurt already, so like he's not even back. That's what we need. But at
Well,
least some
good.
positive signs in the last 7 days.
Yeah, and I mean, good news outside of that. I saw Bruno turn down
Yeah,
um, a couple
Saudi.
interests from some Saudi clubs, and then you guys just re-sign Rashford till
sure did.
2028.
Yep.
Our biggest issue is it's just the amount of time that it takes us to get a deal over the line. Like that's the biggest.
We
Like even if we sign Hoyland, like I guarantee you it's 2 or 3 weeks from now when like we're a month away from the start of the Prem season.
Yep.
Like which is insane. So like if we don't get him in, like it's gonna be Rashford on day one early, and that's why the biggest thing in all of this is like the takeover talk has gone quiet. Nobody's saying
Zero.
anything, and nobody's saying anything anymore. Now all of a sudden these deals are moving slow. So like I'm happy with our first two signings, but like right now, if the season were to start, like Arsenal and City are still miles ahead of where we are.
I think it's interesting in the transfer world because a lot of times we talk about like who our teams are, rumored, linked up with, talking to, and then who we end up signing. But it's all, I think, also a super important piece to that is like what players teams choose to keep around and re-sign. So
Yeah.
I think like for you guys, obviously, Rashford doesn't want to be anywhere else, so you knew he'd stay. But I think that as far as like your midfield goes, it's good that for you guys that Bruno like wants to be there still too, kind of like what you said before about
Facts.
signing, players who want to be there. But I think that re-signing
Facts.
players is equally as important. Um,
Absolutely.
but I feel like in the spirit of Harry Maguire rumors, I can let Chelsea or Tottenham go next
It
and
won't
talk
be
about
too.
any sort of rumors going on with your club.
It won't
Fofana's
take
hurt.
too long. I'm gonna be honest, boys. I'm really nervous about Chelsea's midfield right now. We need to start making some signings. When I think about the midfield, I can't even formulate a three without adding Conor Gallagher in there, which is just hurting me. That's where I will start, though. The first thing that I saw today was Conor Gallagher rumored to Tottenham. So I thought that was quite interesting with the Højbjerg rumor. With the Højbjerg rumor to Atletico Madrid, apparently your new coach is a big fan of Mr. Conor Gallagher. And if that were to happen, then I'd be really concerned that we haven't signed any midfielders. I think Concedo is still a rumor, and like Dobes was kind of saying, this deal is the deal is going to happen, it's going really slow, and I hate how slow it's going, especially when it's an important position like the midfield, and I want him to start gelling with the guys that are there now. So yeah, definitely stressed about that. The other person I saw was Lyon's Cherky, I think his name is. That's the other rumor we have with the midfielder. So hopefully we start signing some midfielders because that's where we need the most. But yeah, nothing else really from Chelsea. I mean, besides CP being official to AC Milan.
So good.
I'm as a Chelsea fan. I think he was mistreated pretty well. I can say that now. I think he's a very talented player and should have got more time at Chelsea, and I'm very happy that he is going somewhere that he will possibly get more playing time. I wish he was more successful at Chelsea because he was definitely a big part in me being a Chelsea fan. So yeah, I wish him all the best at AC Milan.
Yeah, it's the first time I'm hearing about this Conor Gallagher business, so that's wild.
We're doing it live, fellas. We're getting live reactions.
Live reaction, newsflash to Andy Hoover. Let's see.
Can you read the tweet that I just sent you, Hoove?
Dude, I mute my phone.
Because nuts.
What was it on? Oh, you sent it to me? Oh.
Yeah.
Harry Kane does not want to join PSG this summer. PSG were interested in doing a swap deal with the London side that would see them offer Xavi Simons plus cash for striker.
Can you imagine how sick that would be, Xavi Simons?
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. I have mixed reactions, and I guess I have a whole fucking Harry Kane spiel if we really think about it. But I'm glad he's not going to PSG. Xavi Simons, I saw that. So Xavi Simons would have been sick. And I think from a purely Spurs beneficial side, that would have been it. I also just didn't want to see him go to PSG for the way that they've treated their players in the past and like who I think he is and what he should mean to a club. Like seeing like fans outside of his house because he hasn't scored in 5 games, like chanting and saying shit. That would like just break me, to be honest. Like, guy's a family man. He should go to the light side of Bayern, and I think that he will. I think it comes down to I think we're gonna have some standoff type stuff this year, the end of summer, because
Isn't that
he's
what
gonna
happened
leave for
last year?
free. Yeah, it's exactly what happened last year.
I'm looking forward to it.
So yeah,
Box office.
I think I want him to go. We've done it. I've had enough time to like mentally prepare for this. I mentally prepared for it last summer. So, all this BS about the Bayern president, interim president, or whatever coming out and being like, yeah, we've been in conversations the whole time. Like we love his brother, his agent, and blah, 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 all this other BS. But I do think there are legitimate conversations. I do think that's a good destination for him. But Daniel Levy's not going to let him leave for sub 100 to 120 with add-ons, which I think is a completely fair price and fee. So that's where it gets sticky. Daniel Levy's not going to back off of that. Harry's not going to re-sign. They're gonna play a chicken with Bayern in the middle because Bayern's not going to pay 120. So
Who have I
Dubs
got a
is chomping
scenario
at
for
the
you?
bit.
what do you
Who
do
have I got
about
a
it?
s- I got a
Dubs is
scenario
sitting there
for you.
shaking, waiting to talk.
I got to. Bayern is doing all the legwork right now to get the price to where the price needs to be.
If
I
this ends
love it,
with
Dubs.
if
I
this
love
ends
it.
with United getting Harry Kane, you can just cut it off now because
There's already rumors swirling that his brother and people are talking about if he could pick his final destination between the two. It's not really much of a choice because he wants to stay in England. If United sell about 4 players that were rumored to sell, it's about 125 to 130 million that we'll make. And I'm not just saying, don't rule out towards the end of the summer. We'll let Bayern get us to the total, and then we'll know what we have to pay. We'll come in and make an offer.
these guys
saying.
sit here and complain about not being bought out by
I'm just saying.
Qataris, and then they're like, "But
We're gonna buy Harry Kane."
20 in the bank for this
I'm just-
one."
Is that
Yeah.
who's going to buy Maguire? Who's going to buy Fred? Who's going to buy McTominay?
Whatever helps you sleep at night, brother.
Brother.
Before we move
Yeah,
on,
I think Harry Kane's going though. So, final answer.
I was gonna say before we move on from us two, I did want to say one thing, one positive thing that I had for Chelsea this week is
You have one of those?
Yeah, I was
yeah,
gonna say, Jesus.
surprisingly, on my
Holiday,
drive.
fellas.
On my drive from Denver, I was listening to Dele Alli's interview he had
Yeah,
with
bro.
Neville. And one, I think we should all shout out Dele Alli for one, sticking up and talking about some of the stuff that he was going through and mental health and all that stuff. So big shout out to that man. But during the interview, he gave Poach a huge shout out. It told him that he was one of his favorite managers and had a lot of respect for him. So hearing Dele talk positively about Poach and how he was as a human being definitely made me feel really good to have him as a manager moving forward.
It's a good shout. That's fair.
Props to him.
We can
Yeah,
skip
that
the
was
Gooners,
a
right?
no,
That's
no,
the
no,
pod.
no, 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 no.
That's the podcast, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, wrap it up.
That is it.
Sorry,
Sorry,
you're
you haven't talked
late.
about McTominay. I mean,
You're
sorry.
late, but I'm actually hosting this week, so I get to say, and not a better week for me to host. As you guys saw, 2 big signings in the last 3 days. I'll start with Urian Timber from Ajax, 40 million pounds. I feel like at some point we've all talked about how sick this guy is, and I know that Henry and I have definitely talked about it before, whether it was FIFA related or just watching Ajax in general. This dude is an absolute beast. One of the most versatile defenders out there for me. Very very aggressive moving forward, and I think in our build up play he's going to help a lot in a similar way that Zinchenko does on the left side. I think that looking at a lineup with him at right back this season will make it very interesting to see kind of how our formation changes in game, whether we start at a 4-3-3 and then move to a 3-4-3. Zinchenko moves up to the midfield. I think that having Timber, Saliba, and Gabriel in the back is absolute money.
I think it's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah. And looking a little bit deeper in stats on this guy, like Henry and I have talked before, he passes the eye test, no doubt, but I don't think I realized this, but this guy was in the 94th percentile or higher in all passing stats, um, compared to other center backs, which is where he played the majority of the time at Ajax. He played a little bit at right back and a little bit at CDM, which I think, kind of plays into why his passing ability is as good as he is. And he's in the 94th and 95th percentile for tackles and blocks. So that's exactly what you want in a right center back. He's 22 years old, so I think that fits really well into kind of the young core team that we have almost all the way around. Um, really, really excited. And I watched an interview he did on Arsenal's YouTube channel, and he had talked about how he's been an Arsenal fan forever. His two older brothers have been Arsenal fans since he was born, and so he always had a dream, in talking with them about playing at the Emirates someday. So similar to you guys, you United boys talking about players that want to be there, I think that this is exactly what we need too. And I know that when we talked at the end of the season, it might have been in the Mecca Moments that I did with Nate, or it might have been in a podcast shortly afterward, but talking about positions that Arsenal needed to sign guys in, center back was definitely one of those. And I think that, I couldn't be happier that it's him and his ability to play a true right back, better than Ben White does. But I think that, also having him as a substitute, or Timber as a substitute for a little bit until he gets more comfortable, whatever the case ends up being, and whatever Arteta decides, I think that it's perfect. So very, very, very excited about that one. And then my boy Declan Rice, my
Who?
background,
Who?
Rice baby. No, not even close.
That was a horrible video, by the way. The actual announcement video was great. The rice baby was.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the meme, or the GIF or whatever.
The dancing video of the rice.
Yeah, I mean, they're not all winners, and you knew they were going to pump out a shit ton of content around this guy in general, so they weren't all bound to be as nails as the actual announcement video was. But man, so fucking stoked. This is one of those things, like, as an Arsenal fan, like during transfer windows, especially the summer transfer window when most of the big transfers happen, we talk about our teams all having like one main guy that they want to go after that's usually, really expensive, and you don't want them to overpay, but you don't want them to come in too low and lose to a bigger club or another club. Um, First of all, I'm just really, really happy that we got the guy that Arteta wanted most this transfer window. Outside of signing Ozil, who's, been one of my few all-time favorite players, I think this has easily been my favorite transfer window as an Arsenal fan, especially looking at the trajectory that we've kind of been on in terms of, progressing as a team in the last 2 years. This is definitely my favorite one, but we got him for 100 million plus 5 million on add-ons, which, you guys may say was overpaying, but at the end of the day, like, somebody was going to buy him for right around that, and I'm glad that, Arteta and Edu were given the money to do so. He, like Timber, passes the eye test, and I think that, we've all talked about him at some point and said that throughout the season, should West Ham get relegated, he's a guy that we would all love to have on our team, assuming that they sell him for cheap if they got relegated. But one possession more times than any other player in the Premier League last season, like 30 more than Rodri, most interceptions in the Prem last season, 7 more than second place, who wasn't Rodri, but I digress. I also think that when we in game shift to that back three, I think he's going to protect our back line really, really well too. I think similar to Timber, was looking up more in-depth stats on Rice, and I think he was dribbled past like 20 times last season in the Prem, which was at a better rate than Rodri, Casemiro, Caicedo, Thomas Partey, etc. So I think that that's exactly what we're going to need if we're going to let Zinchenko move that far up the field. We need a guy that's going to be able to sit in front of our back line at times and someone who's reliable. But at the same time is really good moving forward. Had some of the most collectively had some of the most forward passes in the Prem last season too, outside of Bruno Fernandes and Rodri. But
Who?
Bruno Fernandes, Olympic diver.
Apparently they're
You might
boys
know him.
too, hanging out in Portugal.
Yeah, I know. How cool is that?
Wild.
So cool.
Winksy,
So cool. What's up, baby?
What's your midfield three with Rice now? With the Rice signing now?
Yeah. I think it depends who we play because I think we'll use Kai in a completely different way than you guys will.
I've been seeing as like a left midfielder.
Kai.
Yeah. A lot
Yeah,
of the rumors
me
I've
too.
been seeing is Arteta.
Me
gonna
too.
try
I think it depends on who we play. It's going to be some combination of Kai, Odegaard, and Rice, or Party, Odegaard, and Rice. Just depending on who we play, whether Arteta wants to use Rice as a box-to-box midfielder or as a proper CDM. I don't know. I'd like to see them play. Obviously, we had our friendly or our preseason match against Nuremberg earlier this week, but didn't play our dogs or anything. So I was kind of watching it on Thursday while I was working, but I think we tied 1-1, but it wasn't really anything to go off of as far as looking at this season ahead. But I'd be interested to kind of see how those two separate midfield pairings, whether it's Rice or Kai or Party in there, would work. But I think it'd be situational for me.
I think the key to the puzzle is Party. And I mean that because I think if Thomas Partey can stay, Thomas Partey at the beginning of the year last year was one of the best defensive midfielders in the league.
Yeah.
And then after he got injured, he dropped off a little bit. But I think the key is Partey. If Partey can stay healthy, it allows you to have that freedom to play Rice as the 8 and then play Odegaard in the middle and then potentially rotate Kai in. I think I don't think Kai improves your midfield over last year. I don't think Kai makes it better than at all. I think Rice is a drastic upgrade than your midfield last year. So I think the key to the situation is there's those rumors of letting Partey go. And I think right now that's stupid. Next year you can potentially bring somebody else in for him. But I think Partey frees up and makes Declan and everybody in front of him's job easier. So I think if Partey can stay healthy, it makes this signing even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't pull United what they did with Pogba.
Just let him go. We're about to get him back for 10 million.
I saw that. That'd be wild.
Back.
You tell me who wasn't smarter by letting him go. Guys played 2 games in the last year and a half.
No, you had to.
Yeah.
And you're going to do the same thing with Harry, maybe.
I'm just saying, bought him up for a lot of money and wanted him to play CDM.
Yeah. But nonetheless, fucking stoked to start off season 3 and talking about predictions for next season with you guys here in the next month or so. But yeah, Nikki, I heard as well you have a little factor cap for us, so we can round out the up with you.
Absolutely. Obviously, our main man, Bucci Main, likes to host this segment of Factor Cap. I wanted to give him a little shout out. The man broke both of his big toes today, so
dumbass.
Sure did.
Very interesting. But shout out to Bucci Main for this Factor Cap.
He is confirmed on crutches.
That is unreal.
4 to 6 weeks.
So we were talking about Messi and obviously Inter Miami and the MLS. So my Factor Cap for you guys for this episode is: do you guys think Miami wins the MLS Cup in the next 3 years?
Fact. 100% fact.
Yeah. I gotta log off, fellas. That's fact. They're 1,000. They're 1,000% gonna win over the next couple of years.
Assuming they sign the rest of those guys, yeah, I'll say fact as well. And part of it's
how
my
quickly.
Head, part of it's my heart.
Let's change it since you guys were so quick with it. Do you think it's this year? Let's change it.
No.
Do you think they win a cup this year or next?
Okay. You
Next
said
October.
no way. I don't know. Do you think they pull it together in one complete season?
I watched David Beckham completely transform the way that LA Galaxy played, and now we're talking about the best overall player that's ever played the game. I think the combination of him
and you put Sergio Busquets in the middle.
and Jordi Alba, I think that they're going to be well on their way.
God, and I
Exact as
obviously
well.
want us to win a title before they do. I'm also a little worried that like some of our guys are playing so well and we have such a huge link up from
Germany.
Lutz pulling guys in from the Bundesliga that like teams might like try and sign a lot of our players, and I'm worried that we're gonna like lose
Bro,
lose a
I
lot of our.
think
You know what I mean?
I don't think we're gonna have Blom very long.
No.
Like I think he is not gonna stick around when
He's
he
gonna
makes
be a
the
91
People
rated
are yeah,
player
people
in
are starting to
EAFC.
realize his quality.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that he doesn't have stats to back
Yeah.
his play up, but boy does he pass that eye test.
Yeah. So with that being said, as the MLS like level continues to rise, like obviously European teams are going to be more interested in MLS players than they have in the past. So I think that knowing that they have Messi, Busquets, and Jordi Alba locked down for the next couple years, I wouldn't put next full season past them.
I have a hard time. I don't think I can be like it's gonna happen, but I think within 3 years, like let's say 3 full seasons, give it one. Next year's the first full season.
Yeah.
3 full seasons, I think it has to be a lock at some point.
I agree. That's why I kind of changed it.
Well, the thing is if you think about it, in like 3 full seasons, Messi might be at the end of his career.
Yeah.
Like, so
He's gonna win. He's gonna
they're
lift that trophy.
definitely going to win one before he retires, like 100%. So, yeah, I think it'll be next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, like again, because the
Hopes.
MLS is so weird, where like you
I
just
think
have
he's
to be
bringing
top
him.
8 to qualify. Like you don't even have to be on top the entire season and be that level of dominant. Like you put that man in big games, put Busquets in one big game, two big games.
Oh
Like
yeah, I'm taking him every time.
Jesse Lingard's flying out to Miami to do tryouts just so he can play with.
Is he?
Messi. Yes, like that. Like people want
That
to
would see that would be insane.
They're gonna he's
Like-
gonna bring talent. Like it's I
And-
kind of him on the board.
yeah, that'd be a good
Has
signing
to.
for them. That's probably Lingard's quality right now, and yeah.
Oh, it'd be huge sign.
I think I think he'd excel in the MLS.
Yeah.
Um,
And he 100% wants to come to America. I was listening to an interview with him like a couple months ago. Like America is definitely where he wants to be.
Jesse Lingard in Miami. It makes like that's just
Yeah.
like,
Jay
that's what he
Lane,
wants.
hey, the
Jay
brand
Lane's-
is gonna do well.
oh yeah.
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 Unreal. But all right, gentlemen, great episode. For everyone listening, thank you as always.
If you made it this
Please,
far.
please keep an eye out on our TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Twitter we like to live tweet during a lot of the games for City and our clubs and national teams. So join in on the banter on there. As always, that's really fun. Like I said, follow us on our socials and be on the lookout. We've got some fun stuff in the works with some guests for some future episodes. So stay tuned for some announcements on those coming up as well. But well done, lads.
Cheers.
Always a good one.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.